We've been talking about clover, and it was 2.5 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I sprayed this 2-year-old clover food plot with herbicides for both broadleaf and grasses. And as you can see, and then I came in and fertilized, as you can see, this clover looks great. Look at this food plot. There's a few weeds coming up in here. Milkweeds always seem to come through, but generally speaking, this is 99% clover now. This plot looks really good. And if you're staying on top of your management of your clover, it should last you 5 years plus. And in some cases, you should be able to get more like 7 or 8 years, and that's what I'm working on right now. That's it for now. Greg, Pressure Deer Pro. Hello, this is Greg from Pressure Deer Pro. I'm doing another segment on clover. I'm going to put all these segments together so somebody that wants to grow clover and do it effectively, they'll be able to do it with some good advice. This clover plot I'm going to show you right now is 1 year old. So I plant these in the fall. You can see here, it's a big flat long creek with high ground on the sides. As you look here, the clover looks pretty good, but I've sprayed this. I talk about it's really important to spray the first year. As you can see, these broadleaf weeds here are all yellow and dying. There's grass in here as well, so I showed this on a 3-year-old plot, but it's just as important to do it on your 1-year-old plot, because you want to give your plot the best chance it can. So I just finished fertilizing this, and as I was driving around, I was noticing all the broadleaf weeds that are dying. The key thing when you spray these, and if somebody wants to know what herbicides I use, you can call me and I'll tell you what those are. But the herbicide application must be done correctly, and it must be done at the right time. So I sprayed this particular field, all these fields, 6 clover plots, roughly 3 acres. I sprayed them all in anticipation of getting 75 to 80 degree weather for 3 days. So sprayed on the day it actually was on the 60s, and the next 3 days it was in the 80s or 70s. And that means the reason you want to do that is the weeds grow aggressively when it gets warmer, after the first big warm up like 70, 80 degrees. So by spraying just before that, in anticipation, your weeds, including, look at this grass right here, it's all yellow, it's going to be dead as well. All the weeds ends up dying, and then you have with a clover food plot that's 100%, close to 100% clover, which is really what you want to hold deer and feed them, get them the protein they need. So that's the end of this segment. Greg from Pressure Deer Pro. Thank you. Alright, so I've done starting the brush hog process. You can see below those weeds there's 100% clover in here. So it's looking real good. You can see how high this gets. Now, the other thing I want to mention is that you never want to brush hog your clover plots in really, really dry weather, because as you drive over it and brush hog it, you can actually kill the clover. So I'm doing this after we had rain a couple days ago. You can see a lot of moisture, heavy dew on the ground. But you can see the weeds and why this step is so important. The other thing I wanted to show you is I did an apple tree video earlier. I wanted to show you that apple tree leafed out and treed up. There it is. So if you remember, that tree was completely engulfed. It had no sunlight. Look at the sun that apple tree is in, and it's actually loaded with apples. I'm surprised it has some in it, but we had a real late frost. Well, we didn't have any late frost this year, so things are looking good. It's Greg from Pressure Deer Pro. Alright, so we're looking at a clover field. It's June 21st, and it's about 55 degrees this morning in Michigan. You can see this clover plot is really looking pretty good. However, as you zoom out, you can see all the grasses and the weeds that are coming through in this plot, even though I sprayed this with herbicide. This is the battle we all face when we're putting in clover fields. You fertilize them, you don't put nitrogen on, but you still get all this weed growth. So what the step I'm doing right now is brush hogging. During June you must brush hog to knock these weeds back so the clover can take over. If I brush hog this and I come back in 2-3 weeks, it'll be solid clover again. If you don't brush hog by fall, these weeds will have taken over the plot and you'll have to replant this within a year or so. So this is year 3 on this plot. You can see the battle with the weeds that's occurring. So I'm going to get on and brush hog this. I'll show you it's after it's done. Thanks. Alright, so this half-acre clover plot is now brush hogged. You can see the clover in here. You brush hog it down to about 6 to 8 inches. That's probably, you don't want to go any too much shorter than that to take all the clover off. So you want to leave a little bit of that. I'm going to try to come back in a week, in 10 days, and video this one more time. You'll see just how strongly this will come back in much pure clover. So that's it for now. Greg, Pressure Drip Pro. Alright, so I just did another brush hogging in late June 21st of a 2-year-old clover field. This one's in really good shape, but you can see how this has all been mowed now. The reason I came back on is I wanted to make sure you understood that you want to do this again in mid-August. It depends upon how dry it is. Mid to late August, you want to do this one more time. And why? Because you want to stimulate the growth of the clover and you'll get a much more plush, tender clover plot for the hunting season. So you do this first in June to keep the weeds from taking over, and then you do it again in August. It's Greg from Pressure Drip Pro. Good luck.